just a brief report. I've had another bit of a field trip during the week with some of our supporters there, and apologies to Mary with the photo with her eyes shut, but it's the only one I took. So, but there's some of our close by local supporters, and it was great to get out with the boys who wanted to show me a couple of the sites near their place. That's the area. So the Creation Discovery Centre, Beauty Point up the top, and they're all fossil sites that we've found in our local area. So quite a lot. And this was down sort of in the midst of these ones down there, down low. But it's always surprising to me, at least, to find marine fossils right out in the scrub like this. And this is where we were on our way to find graptolites. And that's why I titled that Graptolites and Stalactites, because we'll get onto the stalactites in a moment. But we had a tip-off that there were graptolites in this area, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Here the boys, when we finally found some, it took us quite a while till we first came across some, because the university had been there many years ago, but had collected quite a bit, I think. So this is what we found. Graptolites are small floating, probably corals, I believe, John. And one of the things you can see in that picture, which John pointed out when I showed him, was how they're all orientated in the same sort of direction, which is indicating water flow when they're buried. They're also been compressed, according to the university reports for the area. And so they've been, rapidly dumped and compressed in water. So here's the report, and you obviously can't read that, but there's a picture of what graptolites look like on the far left there. Each of those little sort of tubes there is an individual creature, and there's an interesting thing that I pulled out of this report. You can see that that's the clue, because it told us about the area, and it just so happened that the supporters knew the landowner who led us on to go and have a look at them. So that was great. But there's two little interesting bits there that I noticed in the report, that on the same bedding surfaces as the graptolites, and also stratigraphically below them, are poorly preserved plant remains. And obviously ocean floating graptolites don't occur with land plants normally, so that's another indication of sort of mass dumping. And this bed occurs, the same sort of bed occurs right through to Victoria, and I think John's investigated those beds with graptolites up there in Victoria. So it's interesting that land plants are below them stratigraphically and mixed in with the same layer that the graptolites are found on. So I'll keep moving along, because I know we've got lots to cover. So getting on to the stalactites, the boys knew of a cave. So this is not a well-known public cave, but it's a cave, and that's how we had to get into it. I was a little bit nervous at first, crawling in. There's a big rock just through there that you had to sort of scramble between two. So it was a little bit tight, but that's what it was like inside. And you can sort of see on the floor there, just so I don't get in trouble a little bit later, but you can see some of the broken stalactites. I don't think that's people breaking them off. There is a nearby quarry that has a lot of blasting, and there seemed to be a bit of evidence of land movement there as well. So they seem to be naturally breaking off. Perhaps people have occasionally broken them off as well as they've gone through. But we picked up a few of those. Now, I think, and our geologists can confirm this, I thought that little straw looked very much like some of our stalactite machines coming off the end of the stalactite on the right there.
Very much so. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, which is what attracted my attention to it. So it's still a wet cave, it's still operating. There's some stalactites. I didn't realise, it's probably because I'm just haven't had a lot to do with it over time, but stalactites can be quite hollow inside. Not always. I think you're saying they need that, John, to operate, but
basically, Craig, they start out as a hollow straw, and that hollow will remain. Sometimes it remains for a long time, Other times it will block up with calcite precipitation, and then the stalactite will grow only from the outside, but it certainly grows a lot faster if it remains hollow on the inside.
Yeah, so the one on the left there is actually quite a big one. It's probably the size of my leg, and it's got a big hollow in it as well. Just a couple of points of interest as well. There's an endemic cave spider. It's only known from Tasmania, although the nearest relatives, as they're called, are also known in South America. This is quite a big spider, and it was right there at the entrance when you first came in. You shine it, and they've got big webs as well, so it gives me visions of Lord of the Rings. But 18 up to 18 centimetres or 7-inch span with the legs, quite a big spider, and quite possibly, although no one really knows, they don't think it's deadly, but it probably has a bite, a bit like a redback spider, which can be very painful.
You're not going to be trying to do a lovely scientific experiment and find out about it.
No, I've done that with an inch long.
The knowledge of spider venom.
I've done that with an inchman, which is an inch long ant that we have in Australia, and put my finger up to it and bit me, and it was quite hard. But I'm not going to do that with a spider.
No.
And there was also some snail shells in there. So I was wondering whether these were fossils to begin with, but they're not. It's quite a common snail in the area, and I suspect a bird has been collecting them and eating them and bringing them into the cave. I did find a bird bone in there as well, so that may be what's happening there. Another interesting snail in the wet forests of Tassie. And that's just the last slide there. That's one of the stalactites that those boys on an earlier visit had actually pulled out. So that was on the floor. Don't fret. Don't fret. We're not breaking them off or anything like that. But we thought we might recover one of the ones off the floor and maybe display it.